Imagine being right there, at a huge crossroads. Your deepest personal connections are clashing head-on with what you feel is your absolute duty. And it just leads to this overwhelming internal conflict, almost a breakdown, that exact moment, that profound crisis.
That's where our deep dive kicks off today. We're going to unpack the very first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It's called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, which, well, it translates roughly to the yoga of Arjuna's despair, or Arjuna's lamentation.
Yeah, and that term yoga there is so interesting, isn't it? It implies this despair isn't just like a bad feeling. It's framed as a state, maybe even a discipline that can lead somewhere.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is really to get why this moment of intense personal distress isn't just setting the scene. Why is it the actual foundation for, well, one of the world's most important spiritual texts? We're not even at big teachings yet. It's about the pressure cooker situation that makes someone desperately need those teachings. And what's so powerful, I think, is how this chapter just perfectly captures a universal human thing, that intense fight between what we think we should do, our duty, and our personal feelings, our attachments. It makes the whole text so relatable right from the start. Before any complex philosophy even begins, it really grounds it in human experience.
Okay, so let's paint the picture. The chapter starts in a slightly unusual way, narratively speaking. We have Dhritarashtra, the blind king of the Kauravas, asking his advisor Sanjaya what's actually happening on the battlefield, Kurukshetra.
Right, and Sanjaya, he's been given this divine sight, this ability to see the whole war unfold, so he becomes our eyes and ears. He starts describing these two massive armies, the Pandavas on one side, the Kauravas on the other, all lined up, ready for war. You can almost feel the tension in the air, can't you?
Yeah.
Talks about the conch shells blowing, signaling the battle is imminent. It's incredibly vivid.
Yeah, the sound must have been just immense. So then we zoom in on Arjuna. He's the best archer, a key Pandava warrior, and he's in his chariot. And crucially, Lord Krishna himself is acting as his charioteer.
Which is already quite a statement.
Definitely. And then, at this really critical point, Arjuna tells Krishna, drive the chariot out right into the middle of the two armies. He says he wants to see who he's actually up against, who he has to fight.
Yeah, you can see how initially it seems like a warrior's move, right? A strategic assessment. Let me survey the enemy.
Makes sense.
But then Krishna parks the chariot right there in that no man's land between the two forces. And when Arjuna looks, it's not strategic anymore. He's just completely, utterly overwhelmed. Because he doesn't just see enemies. He sees faces he knows. He sees his own family members, his teachers, his grandfathers, cousins, friends, people he respects, people he loves on the other side.
Oh.
And the sheer brutal reality of it, that this is a fratricidal war, killing his own kin, just fills him with this immense sorrow and compassion, too.
Okay, so this is where it gets really intense. He's hit by this wave of grief, right? The text says his body starts trembling. His famous bow, the Gandiva, actually slips from his hand. His mind is just reeling.
Completely bewildered, yeah.
And he just pours out all this turmoil to Krishna. He starts listing all these reasons why he thinks fighting this war is fundamentally deeply wrong.
Which brings us to a really important question. What are these specific reasons? What makes this incredibly skilled, duty-bound warrior suddenly say, I can't do this?
Yeah. What does he actually argue?
Well, he lays out several points, all deeply human. First, and maybe most obviously, compassion for his relatives. He just cannot stand the thought of killing his own family, his teachers, the elders he venerates. He even says explicitly, I'd rather they kill me unarmed than I fight them. It's a visceral rejection.
That's powerful, just raw feeling.
Absolutely. But it's not just feeling. Second, there's a profound fear of sin or negative karma. He's terrified of the spiritual consequences, the immense negative karma that would come from slaughtering his own kinsmen. He believes it would lead to a kind of hellish existence, spiritually speaking.
So not just earthly consequences, but cosmic ones too.
Exactly. It's about the pollution of the act itself. Then third, he's worried about the destruction of the family and society. He argues that wiping out so many men, the leaders of families, would destroy the family lineage, the traditions. And this would lead to a total breakdown of social order, of righteousness, what they call Dharma. He foresees moral chaos, corruption spreading through society for generations because the family structures are gone.
Okay, so personal grief, spiritual fear, and societal collapse. That's a heavy load.
A very heavy load. And it leads to his fourth point, which is basically the pointlessness of victory. He looks at the potential outcome, winning a kingdom, gaining wealth and power, and says, what's the point? If it's achieved through this horrific violence, this slaughter of your own people, losing everyone you care about, Any victory is tainted, meaningless. It's just not worth it.
You can really feel the weight of those arguments. They come straight from the heart, but they're also reasoned in a way, rooted in compassion, ethics, social concern.
They absolutely are. And it raises that central tension, doesn't it? For a warrior like Arjuna, a Kshatriya, his Dharma, his duty, is traditionally to fight in a righteous war.
Right. That's his role, his code.
But here, his personal morality, his compassion, his understanding of wider consequences is screaming that this particular duty is utterly wrong. It's a direct clash.
So his understanding of his duty has basically hit a wall.
Precisely. His current framework for understanding right action, his Dharma, just can't resolve the situation. It's broken down. And that crisis, that Vishada, is exactly what forces the deeper questions about what duty, what Dharma truly means, which is what the rest of Gita will explore.
So where does that leave him at the end of chapter 1? He's laid out all these reasons, this profound anguish.
Well, having said all this, completely overwhelmed, he literally casts aside his bow and arrows, and he just slumps down in the back of the chariot, defeated by his own grief and confusion, and he says flat out, "I will not fight."
It gives up.
It looks like giving up, but this moment of surrender is actually incredibly important. It's pivotal. Yes, he's overcome. He's hit rock bottom, you could say, utterly helpless. But it's in that state, having exhausted all his own reasoning and finding no way forward, that he truly, fully turns to Krishna. He's ready to listen, ready for guidance.
So it's not just despair, it's the end of his own certainty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the transition point. Moving from that purely emotional internal turmoil to a state of profound readiness to receive wisdom, to learn something new. It's not really a warrior quitting. It's more like a student reaching a crisis point, realizing they don't have the answers. And that emptiness, that confusion creates the perfect space, the necessary ground for the profound teachings of the Gita to actually take root. The stage is perfectly set.
So chapter 1, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, really isn't about finding answers right away. It's about the overwhelming, deeply human questions. It's about that specific kind of despair that arises when our roles, our duties, smash up against our deepest connections and values. And that paralysis forces us to look for something deeper. Arjuna's crisis, it feels less like just history and more like a mirror for moments we all face, right? Those universal points of truth.
Absolutely. The whole foundation of the Gita rests on this moment of intense confusion and sorrow. It shows us that real wisdom often doesn't start when we think we have everything figured out. It starts when we're most lost, when we finally stop insisting we know the way and become ready to genuinely listen. Sometimes, it's out of that deepest despair that the greatest clarity can actually emerge.
So maybe something to think about as you go through your day. What are those dilemmas in your own life? Those moments where maybe your role feels completely at odds with your heart, where you feel stuck, paralyzed even. Could facing those moments head on, like Arjuna did, actually be the unlikely start of some really profound learning or change for you? Perhaps your own Vishada moment isn't just a crisis, but an invitation, something to consider.